So it's Sunday. Hi, I'm Chrissie. I'm a self-taught dressmaker and sewing demonstrator. I am sharing everything in the world of sewing that I learn with you. No gatekeeping, no secrets. Everything I learn, the knowledge that I am building, I want to share it with you. So I will be going through different stitches, different types of presser feet, different machines. I will have a Q&A every episode. This is the first episode and it's taken lots of planning, lots of deciding what I'm going to start with, what I'm going to look at, what I'm going to share, because I want to make sure that it's relevant content. I want to be able to provide information in these videos that is going to help everybody. So this week, the foot of the week that I will be discussing is the good old standard presser foot, sometimes known as the zigzag foot. What is a zigzag presser foot? A zigzag presser foot is a standard sewing machine presser foot that is primarily used for sewing zigzag stitches, but can also be used for more basic straight stitches and a variety of decorative stitches. I'm talking about then the standard presser foot. It's not to be confused with a straight stitch foot. A straight stitch foot doesn't have sort of like an oval shaped hole inside. If it was a straight stitch foot, they just have a single tiny hole. And also not to be confused with industrial machines or semi-industrial machines, which will have a slightly different style standard foot. All of the brands are slightly different. They all have a different function or they have a different setup. Even within the brands themselves, there may be different levels of machines. Not all presser feet are created the same. The Pfaff standard presser feet, for example, if the Pfaff machine has got their built-in IDT, which is the walk-in foot functionality, they have the back part of the presser foot missing so that you can engage the IDT on those machines. Bernina, again, as a brand, they are completely different usually with how they do their presser feet. They are whole shank feet. Always use the feet that the brands make. Yes, there are generic feet on the market, and in some instances, again, with entry-level and beginner machines, you can get away with using the generic feet to fit those machines. With these two standard feet, this one is my brother presser foot. Now, this little gap here, where the needle goes in for the foot on here, it's only a 5mm stitch width. And you can also see that it's a lot narrower. And this one, this standard foot is for my Singer heavy duty. And that has a different stitch width, 7mm or 6mm it might be. And so it's got a much bigger hole here to create a wider stitch. I've popped some videos on, I'll show you the videos of the relevance of why to check that your foot is the right size and shape for your machine. So if I was to put this tiny little brother foot on my Singer, the hole's not going to line up and you're going to end up potentially hitting parts that you shouldn't. The foot might be in the way of where the needle hole is. And also another important thing is the width of the foot on the feed dogs. Check your foot, check your stitch before you start your project. There is nothing worse than not doing those basic steps to test beforehand. It's the brand new Bernina 3 series. This has been a secret for months and I've seen this machine when it was launched at the end of last year, and we were sworn to secrecy to be able to share it, show any images of it or talk about it. But it's finally been released, so they are now available for purchase, and I have one of them with me today. So there is a Bernina 325 and a 335 model in the 3 series of the Berninas. So they're the entry-level Berninas. The 3 series has been around for a while already, so the 2 models already exist. They were starting to look a little bit older just because of the screens that were on the machines. All of the rest of the series, so the 4 series, 5 series, 7 series, they've all got colour screen, touch screens on them. Let's get it out and we can have a little look. Now, first things first, with these new machines, they've changed the packaging to be in line with the new 990 model, and they now come laying down. So if you've ever bought a new sewing machine, most of the time you'll realise that they're packed and packaged standing upright. They've changed that now, and it's now packaged laying down, and then you lift sort of the top part of the box. It is a big day when you get a Bernina and they want you to know about it. So this is Mr. Bernina from Switzerland, and in here you've got a little guide of how to pack it back up again. If you ever need to put it back into the box, then obviously you can pack it back up again. If you've ever had to pack up your machine again after you've bought it, you'll realise how ridiculous it is, because it is awful sometimes trying to repack a machine back into the box. Now, I have particularly chosen the 335 model, which is the second model, so it's the next model up. You've got the 325, the first level, and then the 335 is the level up in that series. The reason why I've picked the 335 is because there's a couple of extras that you get with it compared to the other one. I think you've got more scope to sort of add to this machine over the 325, but the 325 is an incredible price point for owning a Bernina machine. You get one of the Bernina slide-on tables, so that is a floating slide-on table that will fit onto your machine. You get an instruction manual, and it's really nice because it comes with a full Bernina accessories catalogue. And if you are a Bernina owner or you know anything about Berninas, you'll understand that they have full shank presser feet. Now, with the 3 series, they come with snap-on feet as standard, but you are able to change them over time and build up a collection so that you can have the full shank feet for the machines. Now, they've changed the way they do the 3 series accessories. They now have these really, really cute fabric is made from recycled plastic, so that is your little accessories bag, and your machine cover is also made of the same power cable, and they are huge fans of Metler threads. What the accessories are that you get in here, because the biggest thing about the 335 again over the 325 is that you get an automatic buttonhole foot. So this is the number 3A, I believe, buttonhole foot. Oh, yep, 3A. That's what I love about Bernina. They've got all the little writing on the feet, so you know exactly which one they are. So the 335, you can do automatic buttonholes. On the 325, you get a buttonhole foot, but it's not an automatic one like these. Bernina bobbins in there. They use metal bobbins in their system for bobbins. You get some oil, seam ripper, cotton stops in here, a zipper foot. This is really cool because this is, you can kind of use this as like a hump jumper almost. So you get one of those in there. You've got an open toe foot number 20. You've got an adjustable number 5 foot in here. Number 4 is the zip foot. And then you have the number 2, which is an overcast overlock foot. Okay, here we go. So when I said they've changed it so that it looks really modern, this is what I mean. If you've seen the Bernina 990, you'll see that they've kind of moved away from being as angular and square, and they've gone more sort of rounded in sort of the way that the machines look. It's super smooth, you know, really lovely white casing on the machine. And we've got a bigger colour screen on this 3 series now, which we didn't have before. I love this bit on here. Love this little thread stand. You've got the thread stand here always, but this additional one and the way that it hides down and goes in there, absolutely love. You've got thread cutter on here, you've got a needle threader mechanism on here. Now another thing with the 335 over the 325, it is already set up. You can put a knee lift in, so their FHS, their freehand system, which is the knee lift basically, it's not included, it is an optional extra, but it has the port already to be able to put in a knee lift, which you can buy as a separate. They've moved on this model as well how you drop the feed dogs, so it's a really easy clicking button just here if you want to do the lower the feed dogs if you're doing free motion embroidery. So you've got your power cable and your foot pedal points right at the back on here. That's really good, so they're tucked right out the way. Let's put the little table on. So you've got your little slide on table here, which will go all the way on and just clip in, and now you've got a lovely big surface now to be able to do whatever you're doing. If you're doing quilting, or if you just need something to have a little bit more support while you're sewing it, it looks like it's a magical floating extension table area. With Bernina feet, just double check which category. If you've had an older machine, you may not find that the feet are interchangeable. So Bernina's come in different categories, and then depending on that, depends on which feet you can use. But it's got all of the details in the brochures that you get with the machines. Automatic bobbin winding is on here. Okay, let's turn it on. So as you can see, if you have a sort of newer Bernina already, you will be very, very familiar with this setup. If not, you do get the quick start guide for the machine, and it will talk you through everything in here on what to do with your machine, what all the buttons are. So you've got stop, start, your speed, needle up, needle down. This is your reverse. You can use it with and without the foot pedal. You can move your needle position really easily, change your stitch width and your stitch length, and it's all displayed on here. And this is a real sort of size view of what it is that you're stitching, which is fantastic. Your tension is up here, and you have got a front loading CB Bernina bobbin area. What's fantastic about Bernina with this is if you go into the home button, you've got all your settings in here. There's tutorials, you've got a consultant which has got things in here. So if you're doing any particular type of project and you sort of want to know what's the best thing to do on there, finishing edges is on there. If you want to look at overcast stitch, it will tell you what settings are ideal. So if I was to press OK, it has changed all of those settings for me to what it's saying I should do for that project, which is really, really cool. So if you want to go in and say, oh, I need to do a zip, and then it will give you some recommendations and stuff on there as well. I'm going to press yes, and it's changed all of those settings for me so that now I can just have a go. It's fully touchscreen, so we can scroll through. There's all of our utility stitches in there. If we go to this one, you've got all of the other decorative stitches in here, so you can put some of those together and you can sort of make a sort of pattern of what you want those ones to be. You've got some alphabets on here, so you've got some lettering that you can do as well. Lots of different lettering options. Go back. Buttonhole choices and sort of eyelet holds. So you've got button sewing on, so a couple of options here. And then these are some built-in quilting stitches. So you've got a 1/4 inch. So settings, personal settings. You could change the colour of the welcome screen if you wanted to, or you can have it as a different pattern or different background, which is really, really cool. So you can change it to say your name on here so that it will say hello Chrissie if you wanted it to when you start the machine up, which is really, really fun. You've got the sewing speed, so it's 900 stitches per minute, but if you wanted to adjust that so it didn't go as fast, you can obviously take that down. You do have the speed control here as well, so depending on, you know, what you're doing, you can adjust your speed control here too. Tutorials, lovely. So a whole tutorial on here of what to do. So if you want to do bobbin winding Wowee! It will literally talk you through step by step exactly how to set it up and do it. If you don't like a manual and you just want to do it from the machine, that's really, really cool. What other tutorials have we got in here? Sewing technique ones, nice. Free motion quilting is a tutorial. Invisible zipper, very, very good. Overlock stitches, that's nice. Lycra stitch number 17 for sewing swimwear fabric provides extreme two-way stretch. Absolutely brilliant in talking you through exactly what to do. There's no guesswork involved. It's going to hold your hand while you're sewing, and that's amazing. And off it goes. So quiet and lovely. I'm going to slow it right down a minute, and then I'm going to get it to do a lock on the spot. So that has locked off the end, and there we go. We are finished. We want to do needle up. I can pull out my work and I can use the trimmers on the side. Let's have a look at this needle threader and see how that performs. Now, a little trick to make sure that your needle is in the best position for receiving a needle threader, especially if you've got an up-down function on your machine. If you do needle down, needle up, it's now in the highest position to be able to accept the needle threader. So I'm just going to engage that across here. So you're going to go under the part into here, hold it right back, and there we go. That is my needle threader. Okay, very nice. To be able to remove the plate, there is a push point here, and that will pop the plate up so that you can get in there if you want to exchange the needle plate or if you wanted to clean it all out in there. It's really sexy. I think it's really, really sexy. These episodes are in partnership with Sewing Machines UK, who provide all of the machines that I will showcase in the episodes, and I have a link to the website down in the description, so anything that I talk about and feature on these episodes you'll be able to find on the website. For the first episode, I have chosen the Overcast stitch, which I think is a very, very useful stitch for people, especially if you don't have an overlocker or serger. I know we only use straight stitch predominantly on most of our sewing projects, but it's important, I think, to understand if we could use other stitches, what they might be, what they could be for, and if they will improve our sewing. Let's have a little look at what the Overcast stitch is described as. What is an overcast stitch? An overcast stitch is a sewing technique that's used to finish raw edges of fabric and prevent unravelling. It can be done by machine or hand. So, machine overcast stitch can be done using an overcast foot on a sewing machine. The overcast foot has a middle bar that acts as a fabric guide. The overcast stitch gives seam edges a professional look similar to a serged edge. Now, it's never, ever going to be as good as an overlocker or a serger. I'm really sorry, but it's not the same functionality at all. But if you are somebody who you've tried an overlocker or you don't want to try an overlocker, it's just something that you're not interested in, an overcast overlock stitch could be sort of your go-to. You can use it with a standard presser foot, so you can use it with a zigzag foot. Some models, you can only use that. They don't come with an overcast foot, or you can, a lot of them, sort of mid-range machines and up, will generally come with an overcast foot on them. Even some of the entry-level Genomes actually will come with an overcast foot in them. And the difference being, sort of with an overcast foot, this is just a generic one to give you a little view of what they're like. There is always a bar which the zigzag part of the overcast stitch goes over, and there's usually a guide so that you can butt your fabric right up to the edge, and then that's sort of going to make sure that that stitching is on the edge of the fabric. So we've been doing some testing of different types of stitches on overcasting, and they've got all different finishes, which is really great. We did some on stretch, and it's a really, really nice option actually on a stretch garment if that's what you're joining together as stretch pieces. It's just done it in one pass of the machine, and it's got some good movement in there without sort of any stitches popping and things like that you can have with stretch fabrics. We also just did some testing on some woven calico fabric here, and then again just one pass of the machine. That was another type of stitch. Now these were all completed with an overcast foot. For example, this machine, my brother machine, it doesn't have an overcast stitch. It only has a zigzag. Now, if your machine only has a zigzag function, you can absolutely use that just to finish the edge, but you're gonna need to secure it with a straight stitch if you're joining two pieces together. So that's gonna be two passes. It's not gonna be done just as one pass through the machine, but still an option if you don't want to go through having an overlocker. This is a 4-thread overlock finish, and you can see on here just how beautiful. I am a huge overlocker serger fan. I always have been. I love the machines and what they can do, and that just looks amazing and professional and just really, really secure. Now there is one brand, which our brother, who do a side cutter attachment for machines. It's only on a certain range of machines, so it's not the entry level or beginner machines. I think it's because it has to be from a 7mm wide stitch width machine, so that's not usually like the entry level machines. It's for the higher end machines and mid-range machines, and it has a cutting mechanism on it, so we had to go with that as well to see what that does if you need that function on there, because if you want to fully mimic and replicate a overlocker or a serger which have the blades on, it will skim or it will cut the edge at the same time. We had a little bit of a flap around trying to get it going the first time round, but once you've got the knack of how the fabric sits into the foot as it's cutting and doing the overcast stitch at the same time, it's fabulous. It's a really nice little extra foot. Now it was really interesting when I was doing some testing on my machines with what they do. My Singer Heavy Duty doesn't come with an overcast foot. It's an optional extra. With the overcast stitch, I tried it out with a zigzag foot, so the standard zigzag foot that comes with the machine, and then I used a generic overcast foot to see, and it was really interesting how it changed how the stitch came out, and that blew my mind. So it looked one way whilst doing it with the zigzag foot. It came out exactly how it looks on the machine, gave the same pattern. Then when I put the overcast foot on, but with exactly the same stitch, it looked completely different. It changed the stitch completely, and that is fascinating. The one thing to look out for with overcast stitching and using a zigzag foot is because there isn't the bar that holds the zigzag part of the stitch over, sometimes you can get what's called tunneling. I think the overcast stitch is a great option for finishing fabrics before pre-washing. Another really handy thing that you can use the overcasting stitch for. My fun find of the week this week in the world of sewing and textiles and fashion and all things stitch related, I came across while I was out and about a wonderful, wonderful lady called Medieval Needle. And she was in my local town centre. They were having a medieval themed display going on with all different stall holders. And of course I was absolutely drawn to this one because I immediately saw on the table some sort of threads and loom set up, and I was intrigued. And they made beautiful bands, and then they incorporated silver and gold threads into them. So she is Sue the Silk Woman on Instagram if you would like to follow along. No Q&A this episode because it is the first one and I wanted to have genuine questions from people who watch. So if you have any questions that you want to know about machines or stitches or different types of techniques, pop them in the comments and I will do my best to get them answered. I will pick some each week and then the following episode I will answer those questions at the end. Then we will discover more stitches and more feet together. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time.